All right, so 1 Million Cups is an educational event that we put on every week here at the Kauffman Foundation, which you guys I'm sure know since you're here. But we've been going for just over a year now and really excited about it. So a couple of housekeeping notes. First off, we want to thank the Kauffman Foundation for hosting us and letting us use their space. Depending on availability, we're either in this room or over in the labs every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. So one of the things that we do like to do to say thank you is be sure to take your coffee cups and put them in the trash can and take care of all of that with you as you go. But the format which you'll see this morning is we have 2 presentations, and each company has 6 minutes to present their business, kind of get the ball rolling and get you up to speed on what they're doing. And then there's 20 minutes of Q&A. So that's really where we see the value and where we like to have the connection. So be sure to interact, and if you have questions, just throw your hands up and we will have mics that will be walking around the room to get to you. Other stuff that we have going on. All right, on your seats, you should have seen a little QR code, a little piece of paper. That is a link to the survey that we did last week. We had a really good response last week, but still about half of everybody filled that out. So if you would, take that with you and fill it out and let us know a little bit more about who you are and what you're doing and your interest here at 1 Million Cups. Also, Nate is at Cedar Rapids 1 Million Cups this morning, so he's working very hard getting all the other cities up and going around the Midwest and soon to be kind of on the coasts if we can continue to push that far, but things are going well there. I think that's pretty much it for announcements. So first this morning, we have Matt Watson with Stackify. He presented last spring, so he's here to give an update on what has been going on in the last year.
All right. Everybody hear me? All right, so we were here last May or June or something like that. I've also presented at Global Entrepreneurship Week or a couple other events. So you may have seen us around. My name is Matt Watson. I'm founder of the company. A couple other guys are here. We'll talk more about kind of the company and the status we're in, some of that stuff as we go on here. But start off with just a quick kind of overview of what we do. So our goal is really kind of complete integrated application monitoring for software developers. So our target audience is basically any company that has a software development team. Our goal is to give developers better tools and data, trying to consolidate a lot of different IT tools. We were at a DevOps meetup on Monday, and one company literally had 25 tools they used to manage their IT operations. It's kind of ridiculous. So we're trying to create collaboration between software developers and IT operations, and we're trying to solve a lot of security and compliance problems. Kind of an overview, and we're going to get into more of this at a high level today. So who is our customer again? Basically, it's any company who has a software developer. It's hundreds of thousands of companies all around the world. We've literally had people sign up on our website from 30 different countries, which is kind of fascinating to me. Some of our early customers are Sprint, Cafe Press, Johnson Controls, and a whole host of other companies that I had never heard of, and I'm sure you never have either. So kind of the nexus starting point for this really comes from Agile development, a lot of the problems with Agile development here. Oops. Most companies have adopted Agile development. I would say about 80% of companies do these days. Causes a lot of change, and we love change. We love products to change quickly. We love new features. Management, of course, always wants change, but ultimately it leads to this. The problem is change causes problems. The more things change, the more things break. When anything breaks, the first thing you ask is, what changed, right? And that is the problem with software development. So our mantra is Agile development requires Agile support. So if you're going to quickly change things, you need to be able to quickly fix them when they break. That's kind of our mantra as a company of what we're trying to solve. We want to help companies detect and resolve problems faster. And our entire team has a lot of experience and battle scars from that. That's the problem we're trying to solve. So when these problems happen, usually companies kind of have an all-hands-on-deck approach, right? But the problem you have is IT operations people, they understand servers, but they don't usually understand applications. They don't understand what applications they have. They don't understand where they're at. They don't understand how they work. And then you've got developers that understand a lot of that, but they don't have access to the other half. And so in this goofy diagram here, we got kind of the wall of confusion in between. You get these silos between the two, and it just causes a lot of problems. I mean, ultimately, we need to create collaboration. Solving problems just takes an incredible amount of time that it shouldn't, and ultimately, we end up with this. It worked fine in dev. It works fine on my machine. It's an operations problem now, man. Let them figure it out. And this is a big problem, and this is the problem we're trying to solve. And ultimately, a lot of companies end up into a culture of firefighting. The last company I had, at any given time, there were 200 or 300 bugs in our software that needed to be fixed. And we had dozens of support people that would call our customers every week and tell them, you know what, we suck. We haven't fixed those problems yet, but I'm calling you to give you an update and tell you we still suck. And that's what we had to do, right? Our management team said, look, you got to call these people every week. You got to tell them that we're listening and we care about their problems, but we can't fix them. So again, our goal is how do we help companies fix those problems? So again, the problem. Agile development leads to a lot of change. Change leads to a lot of buggy software. Supporting these apps is very complicated. There are a lot of barriers that exist, and the current tools are not designed for software developers, and that is the biggest problem. Most of the tools are designed for system administrators. They're not designed for software developers. And most companies have 5 to 10 times more software developers than they have system administrators. Pretty obvious problem. So that trend continues as we move to the cloud. We have virtualization in our servers now. We used to have a whole room of servers. Now we have one rack of servers that's more powerful. And we need fewer system administrators, but yet we need more developers. I mean, unemployment rate for developers in Kansas City is probably negative 10% or something. Places like Cerner are looking to hire 100 developers and they can't find them. So when we talk about Agile support, these are kind of some of the requirements that we see. Obviously the biggest thing is we need to help scale up the team and remove bottlenecks. Almost every company has some bottleneck somewhere. There's one guy who knows everything and nobody else does, or there's one guy who has access and nobody else does. So our goal is to try and pull all this stuff together and help scale up that team so we can solve those problems faster. So to do that, developers need better access to errors, databases, log files, diagnostics, really advanced application monitoring, alerting, all these different kinds of things. And I don't want to get too overly technical with a lot of this stuff. I'd be glad to talk to any of you offline at a more technical level. But so this is kind of a highlight of our features here. These are kind of our 5 core products, as you could call them. Some of them break down to smaller bits and pieces, but our product's a SaaS-based product. It's a cloud-based product. It's very turnkey. It's priced per server per month. It's designed to be low cost, highly scalable. We do support Windows and Linux. A year ago, we did not support Linux, so that's a big difference from a year ago. The first couple of tools you'll see here on remote access is where we really started. Monitoring, both of these are completed. Right now, we're starting to beta test our error reporting module, and then log file and code profiling are things we'll do in the future. Again, our goal is to combine all these things to one platform. So many tools so many companies have dozens of different tools, and nobody has access to the right tool. The whole thing is a mess. If any of you have ever worked in IT, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So kind of the team and the status, a little bit about where we're at from last year. This is like my last slide, by the way. So we currently have 14 employees, including myself, a couple other executives that were previously IT managers. We have a veteran from IT enterprise sales. I think we have like 10 people that are in R&D, development, product development, creative in some way or shape or form. So we're very heavy in R&D. We started doing beta testing earlier this year. We do have a few paying customers, but we don't have anything real significant. Still early on in that process. We've mostly been doing beta testing, done a lot of proof of concepts with trials with companies, really looking for all that feedback. So we're hoping to really get the product where we want it to be this summer, and this fall be really ready to grow. So probably the biggest lesson and challenges, kind of difference from where we are a year ago, just having the right team. You know, the first 3 software developers that we hired, they're all gone. Be it good or bad, they just didn't end up being a perfect fit for us. The team has changed, and it's the hardest thing with a startup is being able to make those changes, and it's always hard finding the right people and all that stuff, and it's just always a challenge, and it's a challenge for us. So we really went from a prototype last year to a real product, starting to get a lot of good traction. The biggest problem we had was how we originally were going to deploy our software. We spent way too much time working on that. Finally decided to kind of pivot and get around that problem. We spent a lot of time wondering if we should focus more on the enterprise market. We've met with really large companies that are really interested in our product, but because it's a cloud-based product that's hosted in the cloud, they don't like that for security concerns. So on a daily basis, we wonder sometimes if maybe we should forget the small and medium-sized business market and chase the enterprise market, because it's just an internal battle we always have. So our biggest problem of all is really a marketing and branding problem. Since we're trying to create a platform with a whole bunch of different things, how we kind of position ourselves is the biggest challenge we have, and we're working on that right now. Last thing I have is just how can you guys help, and I'd be glad to take your questions. But basically, we'd love to have your feedback. Sign up for our software, request a demo. We have some open source projects you could help with, spread the word. If you work with a company that has an IT department, you're potentially a customer, so no matter how big or how small. So I'll take your questions.
Ask questions. Questions? Questions? We're roving with the microphones, looking for questions. Right here in the middle.
Hey there. What's your pricing model?
So right now it's per server per month. Our introductory pricing is $15 a month per server. Eventually we will have probably a freemium product as well, and we will also have a product that will be much more expensive as we round out the different feature sets that we build, and that'll continue to change. But right now it's $15 a month per server, which is pretty competitive. If you compare us to other server monitoring products, we do a lot more than they do for similar kind of price points. So,
how do you differentiate yourself with Splunk and a couple of others who are in the same space?
Absolutely. So this is a huge market. There are multiple billion-dollar companies in this market, including Splunk, BMC, Microsoft, HP, SolarWinds. Like, the list goes on and on and on and on. But more than anything, they're part of the problem. Splunk does one component of what needs to be done. I was looking at this morning. There's really 8 different functions that need to be accomplished, and Splunk does 1 of the 8. Of all the companies that we're aware of, none of them do more than 3 of the 8. And our goal is to really combine the most critical pieces of all 8 of those things into one tool and design it to be very developer and application friendly, which is kind of a different mission than, say, Splunk, who is focused on the enterprise. I mean, their customers are DST and Cerner, and it's all kind of a different market. And my last company, I bought Splunk. I paid $100,000 for it to solve one problem and never used it again, which is part of the problem. I didn't give all my team access to it. We didn't make good utilization of the tool. So it happens everywhere.
Back here in the back.
So for someone who's not an IT professional, how would you describe your product?
So, I mean, our goal is to basically improve the health of your application. So for any company that maybe they provide a software product, or maybe they rely very heavily on a software product. So for example, my last company, Vin Solutions, we provided software. That was our lifeblood. But you look at a company like Walmart. You don't traditionally think of them as a software company, but without really good software, they wouldn't do inventory and all the cool things they do to do, stock their shelves and all that stuff. They live and die by that, right? So any kind of company that relies on software is potentially our customer, and they all care about the health of their applications and if they work or if they don't work. If the applications don't work, they get a lot of phone calls in customer service. They're after the developers to solve the problems. It's a waterfall effect of things that happen when things don't work the way they're supposed to. And that's why I mentioned earlier, so many companies end up in this mode of just firefighting. They have more problems than they can ever deal with, and they never solve them. And they're just constantly running around putting out fires, which developers don't like, customer service doesn't like, their customers aren't happy, it's a bad image for the company, and there's just always problems. So our goal is to try and help them solve those problems a lot more efficiently, so that the company can be healthier, their application's healthier, everybody's happy, if that makes sense.
here to your left.
Do you have anything built into your product for the source code control for the original software and any tools to kind of track that problem through as you're trying to resolve things?
So good question. We don't change how people write their software. We don't change how they deploy their software, something I probably should have mentioned earlier. No matter where it's hosted, our product will work. So the way our product is used is you install a small piece of software on your servers. So it doesn't matter if they're traditional servers in a data center somewhere, if they're on Amazon or Windows Azure or whatever. So we work with any servers from that perspective. We don't currently integrate at a source control or code level. In the future, I think we will do some of that for example, errors and code profiling and some other things in the future, but we don't today. And you don't have to change your code to use our product at all. That's the main point I want to make sure everybody knows.
Right here.
Matt, this is not your first venture, so what have you done differently at Stackify that you learned from your previous entrepreneurial ventures?
So the first time around, the company was completely bootstrapped, grew very slowly for 3 or 4 years, and then took off like a hockey stick. Hopefully we can follow the same pattern, but the biggest difference is we do have a lot more resources at our disposal from an R&D budget and marketing budget and things like that from just having the funding. That's the biggest difference. But we're also probably not as efficient or smart with that funding as well. When we were bootstrapping, what I always said is we were always golfing out of the rough, and if we were ever in the fairway, we wouldn't have known what to do because all we knew how to do was golf out of the rough and cut corners. Where now we're trying to do things first class, but at the same time, we're not necessarily very efficient with our capital either. It's a lot easier to hire a lot of people, but as most of you probably know, software development is a very lossy process. The more people you hire, the less efficient it becomes. And you're smarter to do it with as few as people as possible, because every person adds another layer of project management and oversight and bureaucracy. And so in some ways, maybe we've hired too many people, right? And over the last year, we've done a very good job of getting the right people on the team and the right people off. So now we feel very confident with the team that we have. But it took a long time to get there. So it's just hard. Every startup is hard. Every startup is different. You think you've created the best thing since sliced bread, but nobody cares at the end of the day. You go and pitch people, and they're like, oh, yeah, that's cool, whatever, and they go on about their day. And as an entrepreneur, it's always hard. It's always difficult. So what we need more from everybody is feedback. For example, we spent the last 2 weeks playing with RareWire's product, and we're going to meet with them next week and give them 3 pages of notes. I mean, we'd love to have people do that for us, right? Tell us what you hate. That's what we want to know. Tell us how to make it better. Call our baby ugly. That's what we need. So.
Matt, question back here.
Without mentioning any names, could you possibly give a case study from one of your clients that was a real game changer, that a highlight perhaps in one of your jobs that you did?
Sure. So a lot of our early clients came to us for the remote access security portion of our product. So, for example, that's one of the things that Sprint was after how do we give these developers access to production in a safe and secure way? Most of the time, the alternative is to give them the full keys to the kingdom, give them complete access, which is a lot of security and risk concerns, where our product is able to give them just the right amount of access that they need. So we've had a lot of customers sign up for that specific portion of our product. For example, we've got a company who has software developers that are overseas somewhere that's offshore, and so they're able to give those offshore developers access where before they weren't comfortable with giving them access. We've also had a lot of people sign up that use Windows Azure because we have a lot of really great support for Windows Azure, so that has been a great success for us so far as well. There's not a lot of good tools that do what we do for Windows Azure, so we're in a prime kind of space there to try and, I don't want to say dominate that space, but do well in that space.
There's a question here.
Yes, as you expand and get bigger and you take on more business, what's your service plan to keep everybody and all your customers happy?
So the good thing about our product is it's not very labor intensive. My last company was extremely labor intensive to sell the client, install them, implement them, support them. The good news about this is it's pretty self-service. Anybody can go to our website, they can sign up, they can download it, and they never talk to us, which is amazing. I really like that a lot. They just send money. That's good. But we have a chief operating officer already. We use some good tools to build a lot of documentation around our product and the support of it. All of that is obviously really important to us. We understand that our companies rely on us to support their customers, right? So we need to provide really good support so they can provide very good support as a waterfall effect. So we take a lot of extra effort to ensure the kind of QA of our product and make sure it's very stable and works and all these things. I complain to my guys all the time that at my last company, we grew it to a big business and sold it and never had a QA department. Never had one QA person. And here we go, we have QA in the very beginning. But the difference is, if our product doesn't work very well, it can have dramatic effects to our clients. Or in the last business, it was a little different. So we understand that, and it's a huge priority to us from a security standpoint, quality standpoint, all that stuff.
Back here.
Maybe Apple needs to hire you. Tim Cook from Apple was on the carpet with Congress yesterday, and Senator McCain said, "Why? My only question is, why do I have to keep updating my apps?" What would be your coaching to a business on the #1 mistake they make when they get into IT?
In some ways, it's letting developers have 100% control of what they do, because they tend to do things that are cool and not necessarily smart. That's the biggest problem with software developers, is some of them chase things that are cool and neat and whatever, but are not very practical. But if you're the business owner, you don't know any difference. You hired the developer and you're at their mercy, and that's the biggest challenge.
Question here.
Good morning. You mentioned you were going to be working on the positioning of the company. What are your plans for actually doing a marketing plan? Are you hiring outside help or doing it internally?
Yeah, so we've tried to do it internally for a long time. We recently reached out to a small company here in town to help do it. We're kind of going through that process now to try and work on our kind of core messaging and marketing and planning. It's so easy. Everybody wants to sit and say, okay, yeah, this is our big tagline, this is the deal, but we tried to do that and it didn't work very well, so we're kind of going back to the beginning of going through the whole process of identifying who our clients are and how do we talk to them, and like at a more fundamental level, so we can kind of build up from there. But that's our biggest challenge, is we're really selling a platform and not a product, and it's a lot harder to sell a platform than it is a single product. If you have one single product, it's really easy to say, we do X, and this is why we do it, but we do a whole bunch of things, and so it's more complicated.
Okay. I think time for maybe 2 more questions. Do you have a 1 million cups discount?
I would be glad to give anybody a discount, and anybody gets a free trial that wants to sign up, absolutely. I mean, we're looking for local support. We need local support. We don't want price to be a barrier to our product. So. And we do support Windows and Linux both. Linux is, of course, more difficult because there's a million flavors of everything Linux, but we do support both. One more question?
Pardon me.
Well, I'm not exactly a technical person, but we have a site where we do the development and then we deploy to the live site. Would you say your product is better in the development stage or after it's deployed to find the bugs?
So fundamentally, it's more designed for the deployed part. It's designed for the production aspect, although it can be very useful in development and QA as well. So for example, one of the features of our system is error reporting and collection. Just as a developer's writing code on a daily basis and the software throws errors, we can help find those and report on those and make those easier to find instead of developers spending forever trying to track them down. So even in a development environment, we can help, but a lot of it is geared towards production.
Matt, you get the final word. 195 people here today. What do you want them to leave knowing?
Just thank you all for being here, and would love to have people sign up for trial and provide feedback. That's what we need. We know we're going the right direction, but we need your help to make sure we're going the right way and further validate that. So,
thank you very much. All right. A couple of announcements while we get our next presenter up. Bridget Green, are you here today? Bridget Green? No, she's not. But I'm going to tell you about her Icarus sessions, which I think we mentioned last week. That is tonight. And actually, I was reading this on Eventbrite, and it really sounds kind of like a pretty cool thing. So from the Eventbrite invite, it says, the Icarus sessions are a challenging new way to bring your project, your work, your art forward, not to make a sales pitch, not to get customers or patrons, but to find the courage to stand up and say, here, I made this, and this is why it matters. Presentation at Icarus sessions is 140 seconds long. You can go shorter, but not a second longer. Slides, handouts, whatever you want, you can use it, but stick to 140 seconds. It's free, and it is over at Californo's tonight. So if you don't have anything else going on between 7 and 10, it sounds like a really cool thing, so you should go. There we go. An endorsement. Let's see, what else? Oh, everybody remembers those cool Blue Moo speakers from our friends at Flyover Innovations? Yeah, they presented a few weeks ago. Fantastic. Hey, they are on Indiegogo. They are raising some funds, so I think we've tweeted it here today, but go check them out. They're going to be up there for about 40 days, working towards their goal of a $30,000 fund. So go check them out. You guys ready over there? All right. Only 2 announcements today. It's a light day. All right, so our next presenter, now this is kind of interesting. You know, what I always like about 1 Million Cups is how we have the opportunity to sometimes blend something really high tech, like Matt Watson's Stackify, with something that is so traditional that you would think, you know, the innovation in the space is done. But our next presenter, Craig Howard, is a grocer. And he's working in the kind of revitalizing an old concept of selling food to people who are hungry, and doing this in a way that is completely new. The model's different, total focus on hyper-local and organic, and really building a really cool concept around a local grocery store. And I'm not just saying that because he's in the crossroads, and so he's my local grocery store. But please welcome Craig Howard.
Thanks. Hey. You guys hear me? Is that good? So my name is Craig Howard, and I'm here today to present about Howard's KCMO. And the first thing I want you to know about it, it's a brand new approach. It's innovative. There's nobody else doing anything like it. It's taking old models and kind of revamping it and taking out a lot of the middlemen and just keeping it streamlined, get good food to people 24/7. So Howard's is a membership grocery, which is kind of just a term I made up. And basically what it is, a household or 2 friends pay $60 a year, and you get the access codes to the shop. And you can come in 24/7. It's based on the honor system. And once you're inside, you shop retail. So it's based around local, organically grown veggies, good meats, farm eggs, cheese. Last year, I opened June 1st last year. And just last year, I worked with 44 companies, farms in the Kansas City area, or within about 100 miles or so. And there's still a lot of room for growth with that. There's a lot of people that I can work with as I grow, and I've been in contact with. So it's keeps all the money here in the local economy, which is really important. And really, it's just about good food. So. One of the things that I'm working on next is Howard's is, you can think of it as like a full cycle, as a food cycle. So the food gets grown, eaten, or wasted, which is what I'm trying to prevent. And so I'm going to start a canning project where I'm going to work with local farms. And at the beginning of the year, a box of tomatoes costs like $20. And then when everybody has tomatoes, it's like, give me $4 for it. So I'll team up with local farms, can their products as tomato basil sauce or any number of products, sell it back to them, and what they were going to take home and compost or feed to the chickens now and get $0 or lose money. now they have a case of sauce that they can take to the farmer's market and get $6 a jar, and doesn't go bad, makes them money, doesn't waste anything, so kind of works out for everybody. And so I'm up to about 98 memberships now, and I want to get to, by the end of this year, I want to get to, the goal is 200 memberships, so that would be probably about 350, 400 people involved, and it's a really easy process to get signed up. It's just, there's a downloadable, writable PDF on the website, and you know, it's a pretty streamlined deal, and you know, it's about I'm really excited for this year because I'm up and running. Opening June 1st last year, kind of rehabbed the space in the City Ice building over in Hospital Hill at 21st and Campbell, and there was just a lot of, you can't really Google how to open an honor system grocery store, so I had like a good plan, and then it was like, okay, put that away and start, and a lot of the things stayed the same, but it was good. I could kind of maneuver and change each day, and now I have like the system built, so it's more streamlined. I can just run it and work on adding layers and making it better, and yeah, it's just super exciting to be open for this year and ready to go. So I'd love for you guys to come check out the space. There's John Gordon there. Work with a lot of local farmers, and it's just really fun. It's about, you guys probably know there's lots of benefits to growing organically, eating organic, and you can go on the internet and read for the next 20 years about that. What I'm trying to do is focus on like the fun aspect of it, and just like making tasty food and fresh and good for the local economy, and kind of takes care of everything else from there. And yeah, it's so another important aspect of Howard's is the catering aspect. So what Howard's needs to be is like the market, catering, canning projects. There's a lot of arms and legs that can come off of the central source. And so I'm teaming up with Bad Seed this year, and they have a kitchen they've been wanting to get certified for a while, and farmers are busy. I don't know if you guys have heard that before, but so I'm going to team up with them, get that kitchen certified, and that's where the canning will take place, and also be serving food there on Friday nights, because if you have to pay for a restaurant permit, might as well serve some food, and be doing caterings out of there. And so the canning project is a project that doesn't really have a ceiling. I mean, there's so much room for improvement. We waste so much food, you know, not on purpose. It's just a really inefficient food system. So what I'm looking at is what we have extra of every year, what's going bad, and trying to take that and turn it into profit for the farmers so they can, you know, make some money and make a living and keep doing it and keep providing good food. So
thank you, Craig. All right, questions. I have one. You know, the whole honor system grocery is a pretty amazing concept. How is that working? How did you come about that idea, and how do you see that as you scale and get bigger?
Well, it's working out great. It's kind of the easiest way to think about it is really any grocery store is an honor system. Anybody can walk into the door anytime they want to. There's actually more checks and balances at my shop than there is at grocery stores around the city, because you can walk in and with any intentions that you want to. Here you sign up, it's a process. You get the codes. The members kind of self-police everything. I mean, there hasn't been any theft. There's been like a couple small mistakes on the tickets, and it's like $1 mistake or something. So like when I was first started, it's like, okay, now I need to put prices on each little bag, and then it's like, well, that's going to be like another 9.5 hours a week for me to do that. So it's not worth that extra dollar. Or paying, eventually I want somebody in the shop all the time, still kind of the same model, but somebody there just for questions, and it'll still be self-service. But that's like $100 a day just to have somebody there. So I don't want to spend money on having somebody there just to make sure people don't steal, because that's like, to make that worth it, somebody would have to come in and steal like $120 of spinach, like every day. So I'll kind of cut my losses on that. If, you know, I'll swallow that $3 a year, you know.
Question back here in the middle, Craig.
How do you make money?
Well, the membership fee helps out a lot, because that's $60. Well, it's like 56, you know, before sales tax, but that helps out a lot with, it kind of takes the idea of the CSA where you pay the farmer at the beginning of the season, it gets them seed money, gives them some operating costs to get going through the year, to let them grow, and so that helps. I mean, it's, you know, if I get 8 memberships in a week, it's like that'll pay the rent there, you know. It's all based on low overhead, so I don't necessarily need a ton of money coming in just to cover the operating cost, you know. So it's also just me and my mom at this point too, so there's not a big payroll department, so that helps.
I got a question here. Do you educate your customers and patrons on what it is that you have, how you can use it, better ways to eat it, better ways to cook it, to continue to get the benefits of organic and healthy?
Yep, I try to, for sure. Like, I have some more plans to implement this year, like having like recipe boxes, and like, you know, so where you can pick up just the box, and that makes a meal for 2 at home, minus the olive oil and salt. There's some kitchen staples that you probably already have. And that's definitely like one of the things that, one of those layers that I'm working towards to do better. I mean, I try to do as good as, like a great job, but that's something that'll never stop. Like, there can never not be enough of that. So that will always be something that I'm working to get better at.
Question in the middle.
So far, who are your customers, and who do you want your customers to be?
So pretty much the demographic is from kind of downtown towards the plaza. And there's some people that have memberships that work downtown but might live up north or out south. And but who I want my customers to be is, you know, everybody eats, so there's not there's not a specific demographic. I mean, I think that what I'm trying to do is kind of switch, kind of close the gap between like eating organic and going to a traditional grocery store. Well, traditional will last like 30 years anyway. And kind of close that gap to where it is, you know, just a daily thing where you eat locally and organically. And so I don't necessarily want to say I have a certain demographic. There's already a pre-built demographic, the people that are into local food, and I kind of have to approach, and there's a demographic that's not too, so there's like a two-tier way to approach that. Like, a lot of people come to me, but then I need to be going out to that other huge section of people too.
Craig, question for you all the way here in the back.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned catering. I got 2 questions. You mentioned catering, if you could kind of elaborate a little more on that as far as your plans and what you expect to do with it. Also, on 2, I work with a local Mexican restaurant, and our biggest issue is our food cost, just because we can't get the price breaks that the bigger businesses can, and we do fresh. And so we're not going to kind of cut back on our quality at all. We want to keep it fresh, but do you have any kind of plans in the future to work with any other restaurant?
There is like it's probably like a couple years away. It's more in like the 5-year plan, but I would love to have, really it's all about creating a better food hub system in general for Kansas City. So I would love to have, restaurants have accounts at Howard's and they can come get local food whenever they want and not have to wait until Thursdays when somebody that lives 40 minutes away can deliver, and they can come, shop locally and not have to plan their orders like on Monday too. So that's definitely, I need to get bigger and have the base set before that happens, and really that could be not very far away. We could talk about that and making that happen, and it's, the good news is like it's the bad news is like there's not really a system for it. The good news is like, well, you can do whatever you want then and make the system and just make it work, So we could talk about that and make it work for sure. And there's a ton of room for growth. There's not a ceiling for stuff like that. It's just gonna keep growing and getting better. And we're just at the kind of turning the corner with the local food movement. And with the caterings, I have 2 wedding caterings booked this year already, so which is great. So if I get 2 wedding caterings a year, that lets me operate lets me be able to pay rent and be fine and good, and with the caterings, it's all kind of local. I just kind of make the menus the day before, or with the weddings, obviously we had a lot of meetings, but it's really local based food. If it's not, then I just won't do it.
Over here on the right.
Yes, in conjunction with the annual fee and open 24/7 convenience, where do you feel that your price point is going to set in as far as targeting competitors and stuff like that? So where do you see yourself standing in that area?
So the prices are basically how I describe it. It's like farmers market prices. So if a farmer sells it for $3 a pound at the farmers market, they'll give me a kind of a wholesale discount, and then that's the markup. So if it costs more at my shop than it does at the farmers market, then I don't need to be there. There is the added convenience to where you can get the same stuff you get at the farmers market and pull up. There's parking, you can be in and out in 5 minutes, so you don't have to deal with the huge crowd. So there's a little bit of convenience, but I don't want people to have to pay for that. Like, I'm trying to cut out the money that doesn't need to be spent on food, not charge people extra for service that I'm trying to provide. That answer your question? It depends on the local farmer. So, I try to keep it as, the markups aren't that high. So you could get, I know like Indigo Wild laundry soap, for instance, I know that I've seen it like $5 more expensive than I have it. And like Oddly Correct Coffee, I know that I've seen it, $4 more per package. So I keep it down as much as possible. That's part of the membership fee.
Question in the middle.
How seasonal is your business?
It definitely is. So I went back and forth on the business model on like, well, over the winter I'll get just potatoes and onions from as close as I can, organically grown. And I kind of convinced myself both ways. And finally I just said like, no, like if it's not, all the veggies are gonna be local no matter what. Over the winter, it was, in January there was 11 kinds of vegetables still. So there's still good stuff to be had. And this was the hardest winter too, because there's more and more people doing the growing, and it'll just get easier and easier and better. Really the hardest part was after the winter stuff was gone and before the spring stuff. Because some people had like a few things, but it was, there's really busy too, so it was hard to take a trip into town to sell it, So now it's kind of like I was looking at pictures of the coolers like last summer, like, oh man, it looks so full. but now it's kind of weathered that winter storm. But yeah, it's definitely seasonal. That's what it's at the heart of it.
Up front here.
I was just going to ask if you could talk more about all the kind of products that you sell. So you mentioned you sell coffee and laundry soap as well, but so do you sell meat, or is it just mostly vegetables, or do you sell like packaged goods that are organic, or kind of?
Yeah, so I have some staple goods too, like so that my buying dollars go to at least 90% local companies. It's really more like 96 or 97. So I'll have like salt, olive oil, like local flours, dried pasta, which isn't local. You know, then I'll have like lentils, and I like to have, it'll never be like a one-stop shop, like I'll never carry trash bags, you know, stuff like that, you know. But I want to have where you can come in and get everything you need to make a good meal at home. And yeah, the meats, I don't know this to be a fact, but I'm pretty sure that I have like the biggest selection of meats, of local meats in the city. They're all frozen, but I have bison, lots of different bison, beef, chicken, turkey, trout, sausages. I mean, there's probably 34 different types of cuts of meat you can go get right now, you know. So a lot of meat, good eggs, cheese, and yeah, it's all local except for some dried goods, kind of kitchen staples.
Craig, over here to your left.
All right, I live east of the Truce line, dead in the middle of the food desert over there. And we were in an event yesterday for World Culture Festival at Foreign Language Academy. We were trying to figure out why 65% of everyone attending was immensely overweight. And I was watching children walk around eating out of gigantic Doritos bags, and I was like, that's the problem right there. So what about education and outreach? You know, is there anything that you guys have kind of thought of? Because I think that's probably the biggest difference. My wife is a sports science researcher, and so I hear all this stuff constantly about we need to educate and outreach, and I think it's a big problem in Kansas City. Companies like yours are at a very distinct advantage to kind of do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what I would love to do is buy vacant lots on the east side and make gardens over there. And, you know, that's what I would love to do. I can't yet because I don't have, you know, it's a funding thing. You know, I have the market going, but I can't go out and do what I want to do yet. So I don't have the capital for that yet, which, you know, I'm open to suggestions for that. That's one of the reasons that I'm here is different, you know, if anybody knows about some grants or, you know, different funding opportunities, that's one of the reasons that I'm here. But I would love to have, that's the thing with the east side, it's like, if there is veggies, they're like way overpriced and, you know, unavailable. And, you know, that's definitely in the plans to buy some lots over there and kind of turn it around. And the best way for like kids to learn most of the time is by seeing it and doing it. So, you know, let them see the gardens, let them work the gardens, let them, you know, let them mess it up if they need to, you know, but just let them be around good food, and that's what'll start to change that. Because if they're already not, if that's not available, then it's not going to just change as a big group, you know.
Another question.
A couple of questions. What did you do prior to this, or do you do something in addition to this now just to make a living overall? And what prompted you to start this business?
So I'm from restaurants. I cook. That's kind of what got me here. This is like my love of cooking and my love of gardening and just my love of food kind of meeting together. And so I moved back to Kansas City 2 years ago, a little over 2 years, and to do this. And I was on the West Coast working on farms, and kind of had, like my Mid-Tours farm, they had like a CSA where they would go drop off their veggies in the basement of the hardware store. It was like a town of like 100 people out in the middle, you know, up in the mountains. And that was kind of like, this is a really easy way to get the good food. Like, you know, and that's kind of like what, so it was that, and also just like as a kid, like going to my grandpa's farm and going to like the egg fridge in the country, which is just like, if somebody has chickens, they just put the eggs in the fridge and you go put in your $2 and, you know, it's honor system. So that was kind of one of the inspirations. And I actually do cook for a living still. I cook breakfast at Bluebird Bistro. So I work like 6:30 to about 2. And I'd love to have that. I'm in like a weird like sliding scale. I know I could get the shop busier if I was there more, but I need to have a certain amount of money coming in no matter what. So I'm kind of like in the middle of, I just need like a couple more bumps and then I can, you know, really I should be working there like 1 or 2 days a week, hopefully in the next month or 2.
Back here. Hey, Howard, do you have kale this week?
Yep.
Okay, I'll be by at 2 in the morning.
Yeah, there's 2 bags over there. All right. And there's also some ice cream too, some glacé ice cream.
Oh, I know that. So thank you.
But yeah, and I failed to mention, I'm also growing this year too, so I'm adding that too. Last year I grew like some herbs, but I just wanted to like make the floor and get the shop open. But I have 2 gardens, one on the west side and one up north. So I'll be growing a lot of the veggies myself this year.
Right here, Greg.
Good morning.
Hey.
My question is, I understand sounds very convenient. I'm just wondering, I have friends that would pay maybe about like a higher membership fee because they can't get out of the house or they have too many kids to get in the car, and I was wondering if you now deliver or have plans to deliver in the future.
There is kind of some tentative plans to do that. The thing is, it's all, I don't want to, it has to be done really smart and efficient to not be driving all over the city and just wasting gas, because that's like what I'm trying to shift from is using a lot of energy to get food to people. So there is some plans to do that down the road, but not anytime soon. But we'll see. Stay tuned.
Question in the middle.
So what are you doing to communicate and tell people about your business here? And then when you get to 200, what's the plan after that?
So my marketing strategy is kind of a lot of Facebook and Twitter, and I bought some advertising, which didn't necessarily, for me being so small, didn't pay off right away. So really what gets the most dollars for me marketing-wise is like doing at events at Oddly Correct. Like last Wednesday, I did meet, greet, and eat at Oddly Correct, where I just made a free meal and had people come listen to me while they ate the food that I provided for free. And, you know, it cost me maybe $80, but I'd be really surprised if I don't get 4 or 5 memberships out of it, and just to get my name out there. So that was worth that $80 as opposed to like $380 or whatever for like an online ad or a print ad. That's, you know, for me I need like immediate results when I do marketing. So I feel like I need to be just doing there and like one-on-one type of stuff, and like things like 1 million cups. Try to do things like that. And so after like 200, I have the lease till 2014, October 2014, and I can sign it for another 2 years right now. I'm gonna wait to see how this year goes. I would love to get rolling this year and have enough money coming in where I can say like, I'm gonna buy a building after this lease is up, because that has to happen pretty much like next year for me to fix it up and get it going so it's a seamless transition from shop to shop. So it's kind of a wait to see how this, you know, end of spring kind of reevaluate that, and also end of summer reevaluate. I'd rather get into something more long-term where I can plant fruit trees and, you know, have them there for 30 years and just having, you know, be in a space as long as I want rather than like, I'm either going to be out of there in 5 years or 4 years. I don't really know for sure, but I will be out of the space I'm in now. So the faster that I get to the long-term thing, the better.
Okay, we got 2 more quick questions. You've kind of answered this in pieces, but let me kind of ask the question a little bit different way. One of the things that we hear about a lot in Kansas City is that we're really good at ag and food, and even though I hate to use the term cluster, but there's actually like a cluster of food companies here, and we've had a lot of food and beverage companies come through 1 Million Cups. Have you seen that to be the case? And if so, how has the community outside of this room, obviously, helped you be successful?
I think there's a lot of really great smaller companies, and everybody, the best thing is everybody works together. Like, it was really easy. I knew a lot of the farmers just from working in restaurants, and I've always kind of worked at farm to table that worked with local farmers. And so I knew a lot of the guys already. And so it was kind of easy for me to start up the shop and not have to, you know, beat down doors to get work with local farmers. But the people that I didn't know have been like super supportive, and I'm trying to be super supportive to them too. So it kind of works out for the best that way. And you know, as we can all grow together. There's a lot of work to do, but you know, that's the good news is like, let's do the work and get it going, and you know.
One last question right here.
As you were mentioning about expanding and getting more garden space, I was wondering if you're familiar with the Emerald City project in Midtown. If you're not, they are in Facebook, and it's a great space for developing your kind of a project. And I understand they have grants, and they probably would be able. That would be very successful in the Emerald City project.
Yeah, I do know a little bit, but not as much as I need to. Like, you know, being kind of a one-man show for a long time, until I hired my mom a few months ago to help me with the books and stuff. But I mean, it was I couldn't necessarily make a strategy and follow through with it. It was a lot of just trying to get the system built. So now I'm kind of out of the woods on that, and now I can start to make smart plans that'll, you know, propel me, like, you know, for the future, that'll be paying off, you know, this year and like 30 years from now, you know. So I'll definitely want to talk to them more.
All right, we're out of time, but before I let you go, how many people are going to go home and sign up for Craig's? That's what we like to see. All right, thank you all for being here. See you here next week.
Thanks.